Hello, magandang umaga po. Today I received a notification from New York City Consular office, and they now have a new pronouncement issued today regarding the new policy starting February 16th. They changed it again, but I heard about it like 3-4 days ago from the newspaper, and the Department of Foreign Affairs, I guess, just came out with that pronouncement now. And that's what we'll talk about. Stay with me. Okay, here we go again. Let's talk about the changes that they're making effective February 16th on foreigners being able to come into the Philippines. In particular, SRRV visa holders and foreigners. But first, let's talk about the Balikbayan, which is Filipino citizens or former Filipino citizens going back into the country, which includes spouses, foreign spouses, and foreign children. That stays intact. And I believe, I'm pretty sure it's still the case, there is no need for a visa for the spouses and children or foreign spouses and children of Filipino citizens. Okay? So the following exceptions now, or changes I should say, the following changes are for foreign nationals but not married to a spouse. Okay? So let's start. And I got this from the New York City website, which, by the way, the link is down below in the comment section. So if you click on that link down below in the comment section, you will be able to get more details than what I'm discussing here. Because what I'm discussing here, I'm not including all the other types of visas that you are not going to be interested in, or most of my viewers will not be interested in. So due to the COVID-19 pandemic, visa-free privileges to all foreign nationals are suspended until further notice. Okay, now this does not include Balikbayan. Only the following foreign nationals shall be allowed to enter the Philippines provided they possess or secure the appropriate visas. 1. Foreign spouse and minor children of Filipinos. Children with special needs regardless of age of Filipinos, foreign parent of minor Filipinos. So for child, it has to be minor. If it is not minor, they better have special needs. Okay, otherwise they don't qualify. Minor or child of any age but with special needs, or foreign parent of a minor, because we have some Filipino citizens whose father or mother is an American, let's say. Okay, so they are foreign parents. Now, please don't ask me about grandmother, grandfather, niece, nephew, and things like that. This thing here only applies to the immediate family. That's what we're talking about. Parents, children. Parents, children. No one else. Okay? Foreign parent of Filipino children with special needs, again, child should be with special needs unless it's minor. Accredited foreign government, international organization officials, and their dependents, we're not going to talk about that. Foreign airline crew members, we're not going to talk about that. Foreign seafarer with 9C visa, we're not going to talk about that. But this one we'll talk about. Immigrant visa, 13A, that's for spouses of foreign nationals, or 13G, that's the people with working visa. Okay? And if you carry 13B, 13C, then you know what that is. You are covered by this, all right? And then also a special resident and retiree visa, SRRV. Okay, a lot of people have SRRV visa because they're married to a Filipino citizen, or they just simply decided that they are going to retire in the Philippines and obtained an SRRV, or even former Filipinos who do not want to be dual but wants the benefit of a long-term stay in the Philippines, so maybe they got an SRRV visa. Okay, February 16, starting then, The following protocols should be effective. Holders of valid and existing SRRV visa and Section 9A visa. So tourism will be allowed, but not in the sense of tourism for fun or something like that, because they are still not allowed. It says here, SRRV visa are still not allowed, 9A visa are still not allowed to enter unless an entry exemption document is presented to the Bureau of Immigration upon arrival. So you need to obtain an entry exemption document. So if you have an emergency business, you need something important or medical condition, you'll have to ask for an exemption. Foreign nationals with visas issued as of March 20, 2020 and still valid and existing at the time of entry into the Philippines who were not permitted to enter under previous IATF resolution will now be allowed entry. Someone called me and said, "Gee, Danny, I have a 9A visa and it was issued as of this date, March 20, 2020, and it's still valid." I said, "Is that a 9A?" Yes, yep, that's a 9A. It's valid up to March of 2021. I said, okay. I thought when you get a 9A, it will only be 60, 90, maybe keep on extending it, but not one whole year visa, but she has a one whole year visa. So in that case, he or she is going to be allowed to enter the Philippines using that visa. So I guess at that point they were supposed to enter, but then they were stopped because of the pandemic. So now they're allowed in again. Or if you are not traveling with Filipino spouse or children, you will need a notarized affidavit from the spouse that he or she is in the Philippines. Normally, when you're traveling with them, you will not need any visa because you're going under a Balikbayan. Okay? But if you are not traveling and you want to go home, you will need to obtain an affidavit that she is in the Philippines, because then you will be granted a visa or exemption, whatever. Now, I obtained this from the consulate in Norway because it was not addressed in the website of New York City. Foreign spouses of Filipino nationals, provided the Filipino spouse is in the Philippines and they have a valid visa at the time of entry, they will be allowed. I guess this is one of those exceptions that they were talking about. Foreign minor children and foreign children with special needs, regardless of age, of Filipino national, provided the Filipino parent is in the Philippines. So all these are what we already discussed under the Balikbayan, but under the Balikbayan rules, you will need to be traveling with your children or with your spouse. But here, they're saying you will need a visa if you are not traveling with them, so that you can travel to the Philippines, and that's probably one of the exceptions. And another exception might be if you have a subpoena and you need to face the court in the Philippines, or some of those things. But they did not define anything and everything that is going to be approved. It's strictly discretionary on the part of the Bureau of Immigration. Foreign parents of minor Filipino children, again, we already talked about that. Within the family, parent, children. You could be a parent with a child who's Filipino, or you could be a Filipino parent with a child who is a foreigner. Okay? These are the websites for New York and Norway. Please do look down below in the comment section. You will see there's a link, and you click on that and you'll be able to see the website, and it will give you a more comprehensive coverage on what we're talking about. So please do refer to that if you did not get it yet from what I'm talking about. In the event, here's a tip. In the event you don't get an answer from a specific consular office, or you're not getting what appears to be a wrong, you're getting what appears to be a wrong answer, and you have some doubts, you can go ahead and send an email to another consular office just to ask the question. I'm going to come up with another video on this. Someone shared with me her experience, or difficulty anyway, and I would suggest You don't limit. Let's say the consular office you're supposed to deal with is New York, and New York is not responding. Go to Washington, go to Florida, go to LA, go to San Francisco. Email them also, and ask exact same question. Just cut and paste your email, send it to them. If none of them responds, or if nobody responds, and you're not happy with it, send a second email. It's easy. Just pull up the email you sent out and resend it. Okay? Send it 2, 3, 4 times, whatever it takes, until you get an answer. Be tenacious. Be aggressive in getting an answer. That's the only way you can deal with these, sorry to say, Philippine officers. Okay? They're very unresponsive. I'm ashamed to say that. And don't forget to send one to the Philippine Embassy in Washington. Okay? I think they are more responsive. I even sent an email to the Philippines, and they responded to me. So do not just send one, oh, I'm covered by New York, so I'm going to send one to New York, and then sit back and then complain, oh, gee, they're not responding, how am I going to find out? And keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. Okay? Now, the other question is testing and quarantine. Please, everybody will be subject to this, no exception whatsoever. Okay? It doesn't matter if you're old, young, well, I think there's some exception, let's say for a 2-year-old baby or kid or child, and maybe they will not get tested, I don't know, okay? But normally, there won't be any exception just because you're too old or young and healthy. And I already had the vaccine. Am I going to be subject to it? Yes, you will, okay? And the reason for that is this. First, let's talk about vaccination. When you get vaccinated, you are protected. But it doesn't mean that whatever germ you get in you cannot be passed on to somebody else. You may be a carrier and you don't feel anything because you're immune to it because you are vaccinated. But you could still pass the germ to somebody else. That is the reason why you are not exempted. Okay? Will you be required to be vaccinated? No, no such requirement. Will I be subject to testing? I will talk about testing and quarantine. Yes, you will, for this exact same reason. And why do they require quarantine if I tested negative? Well, because you may test negative today, but it requires about 5-6 days for the virus to manifest itself. You may in fact have an infection, but you will not feel it. The test will not show it, okay? But on the 5th day, that is when it could show. And that's the reason why you're required to quarantine yourself for 5 days, which is the 6th day of the date of arrival. And hopefully the test is negative, then you can go home. And guess what? They will still require you to quarantine, self-quarantine for 7 additional days to complete a 14-day quarantine. But that is the reason. So don't say, oh, gee, Philippines is so bad, I already got vaccinated. Well, you're protected, but not others. You could be a carrier and you don't feel it because you are immune, because you got vaccinated, but you could still pass it on to somebody else. That is the reason why. Okay? Now, am I going to be required to be vaccinated before I board the plane? That depends on the airline. If you're coming from the US, maybe if you're coming from LA, it's not required. You're coming from New York, maybe it will be required. I don't know. I don't know what the requirement is. You just have to inquire, call the airline, what is the requirement. All right? Oh, also, my wife and I, are we required to have 2 rooms, 2 separate rooms, or can we stay together in one room? It's so ridiculous if they require 2. But I did hear some hotels, some people say that they were required to have 2 separate rooms. But I also heard from some people who said they're okay to stay in one room. Okay? So those are the variables, and I do not have an answer for you. All you need to do is to call the hotel and find out. Okay? Call the airline and find out. And so this is it. Hopefully this will help you in your adventure. And please do share this with others. And if you like this video, please do click like. I will appreciate that. And please do subscribe unless you have already done so. Thank you so much, and make it a great day. God bless.